they have the presidency covering them. But considering the fact that this man is someone who has been compromised, who has compromised the presidency before with the information that Sowore gave out to Nigerians, and now he's still in office, and don't you think that this is enough reason for the DSS to do the needful?
We're saying the same thing from different angle. I'm equally agreeing to what you said, that the DSS should do the needful. Of course, they know how to quiz somebody and get information when they want to. The truth of the matter is that the hands of the security agencies are tied. Not that they don't know what to do. Nigeria's police and all that are judged to be one of the best in West Africa and beyond. When they go out for peacekeeping, the way and manner they carry out the operations, they are always being giving kudos. And the same thing with our security network. But sometimes you begin to ask questions. I think you were asking a question the first time you were talking about those bandits. How do they operate? Who gives them this money? How do they receive this money? These ransoms are being paid, some through banks and all that. Can't it be tracked? They are using GSM. I learned that at the time they tossed our lines here because of the issues of NIM. It wasn't tossed in the north. Yes. And we are calling ourselves that we live in a country. Are we truly one Nigeria? It's a question we should bring to the table. Who are the people terrorizing Nigerians? Are they my people or your own people? These are questions, pertinent questions to be asked. What is the problem with Nigeria? Why is it that the heat is coming from the north? Now, remember, these were the same people that fought the past president, Goodluck Jonathan. And they said Goodluck Jonathan was a woman. In fact, somebody took a goat and put on the body of the goat, Jonathan.
Oh, they did.
They did so many things, even worse.
So many things.
Now, the man is out. And they've brought a retired general and somebody that had had his fair share in government as a commander-in-chief in the military, so to speak, and have now come back in Agbada. And it's expected that such a person should be able to handle the country, because that was why he was given the mantle, that he will fight insecurity and so on. But then sometimes I wonder, can he actually fight insecurity? Remember that when Boko Haram was looking for somebody to speak on their behalf during the time of Goodluck Jonathan, the person that was picked is a man in the #1 seat.
Spokesperson.
So let's begin to look at these issues.
Has something else.
Okay, go ahead.
We need to get to.
Yes, Dr. Ibichiri. A couple of weeks or days ago, Atiku Abubakar, being the presidential candidate of the PDP, had granted interview to some journalists. And in that interview, he was asked one pertinent question: do you think you have the support of former President Olusegun Obasanjo? And he said he believes so. He assumed
he believes.
And he uses precise word. Now, looking at what Sowore has done, it's more like a counter-attack to somewhat create the rift between him and Obasanjo even the more.
Sure.
What is your take on that development?
Of course, it's very simple. Before now, Obasanjo had come out to tell Nigerians that Atiku is an ole, a Yoruba word for a thief. Are you getting it? And he has been saying even before now that he can never support Atiku Abubakar. He has never hidden that feeling. He said he can never support Atiku Abubakar. And what is playing out now, Obasanjo will see that Atiku did not only do all the other things he did, he was also compromising his government at that time.
And this basically attests to what he wrote in his book, My Watch, about Atiku.
Exactly.
But we'll come back to that. Let's quickly get to our Lagos studio where Chris is. Hello, good morning again, Chris.
Good morning, Vivian. Thank you. All right. Now, looking at the information that Sowore has divulged to the public, to the guests, do you think this would be like a threat to the loyal supporters of Atiku coming to the next election?
Okay, he's asking me if...
He said,
all right.
do you think that the issues that Sowore has outlined now Would it be a threat also to the supporters of Atiku looking forward to the
Of course, of course. You know, when we come to this very critical moment, everything, every public display, it's either a plus or a minus to a candidate. And what is playing out now means that Atiku needs more of either propaganda or whatever he thinks to be able to ward off this negative perception which it has created in the minds of people and even others that, look, you don't have a good public image. So he needs to launder his image now. People need to do more work to be able to save the Atiku's face. And of course, give him the hope that the presidency is sure for you. For now, what is playing out and even what will play out more in the coming days, I wonder if Atiku Abubakar will be a man for the job.
All right, Patience.
Thank you very much. Now, why do you think Showere will lay such a huge allegations on Atiku, knowing that this allegation would have a negative impact on his presidential ambition? What could actually be the reason for bringing such an allegation at this critical time?
All right. Of course, you know that when two strange bedfellows have a problem, they wash their dirty linens. Showere, perhaps, I wouldn't know how they do it. Maybe there are some compromises which Atiku Abubakar on his own part did not fulfill. Maybe there are some things that they still have scores to settle which was never settled. And of course, you know that maybe Atiku is trying not to play his own part after they've had some bargain. And so Showere is blowing out, is blowing hot and trying to tell you. It's just like taking it to this Asa girl's song. She said, the country is burning, but nobody is running. Everybody is just standing. And we have started seeing it. They've started blowing. Everywhere is burning. Let's Atiku look for firefighters that will help him to calm the situation, to help bring out the fire, blow out the fire. If not, there will be serious problem. Of course, I think all of these things are playing out now because of, as the election approaches, they will have three major candidates, so to speak, that we are looking at. There are others, but the three major candidates we know. If one of them is having issues that he cannot settle, it means that we'll be looking at two candidates, giving and maybe any of them the major advantage over others. So Atiku needs to do something very quickly to clear his public image.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Peku. We are here and we're looking out to see what Atiku will do, and we hope Obasanjo doesn't write a letter or do something. We know Baba does not take chances at all. Let's go to our second story this morning, and that's on insecurity. Terrorists assembling weapons to attack Buhari State. That's Katsina State, and this is coming from the NSCDC. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps has raised the alarm over a planned attack on the President Major General Muhammad Buhari State, Katsina, as well as Lagos, Federal Capital Territory, among others. The NSCDC stated that Boko Haram, an Islamic State for West Africa province terrorists from the intelligence it gathered, have mobilized their fighters and had equipped themselves with the dangerous weapons like anti-aircraft guns, general purpose machine guns, among others, in preparation for the attack on the state, which the president of the country hails from. These were contained in a leaked report addressed to all commands dated July 25th and cited by our correspondent on Tuesday. The report titled, Reply Heightened Plots by Terrorists to Stage Coordinated Attacks in Parts of the Country, and it was signed by the Deputy Commandant General Comptroller in charge of Operations, Didi Mungadi. It read, we have received credible intelligence that Boko Haram and the ISWAP terrorist groups have mobilized fighters and high-caliber weapons, particularly rocket-propelled grenade launchers, anti-aircraft guns, and general-purpose machine guns, which they intend to deploy for the offensive in Katsina State. The report also hinted at other attacks by bandit groups in Lagos, Federal Capital Territory, Kaduna, and Zamfara State. In another development, two separate bandit groups are plotting coordinated attacks on northwest and north central and southwest Katsina, Zamfara, Kaduna, Kogi, FCT, and Lagos, respectively. Consequently, the Commandant General has directed you to scale up deployment in all strategic places, including schools, worship centers, and critical national assets in your respective states. What to do with it is to checkmate any possible threats by these criminal elements. Please treat as urgent, the reports added. Dr. Pepple, a few days ago we got an information, a security alert from the NSCDC talking about the dams, that there is need, that they're going to put 24-hour security around that. And the question I asked the resource person on the show that day was, why are they telling us this? But exactly, we don't control the security architecture of this country. We're not even licensed, we're not even allowed to carry licensed arms. So though some governors are coming up to say you've got to do it because that's the only way to protect yourself, which also show that the state has failed. Now, NSCDC is coming out again, and then why they release, just as the heels of the release of this report, Abuja is in fire from last night. We don't know how far that is right now. The shootings, the issues from Lagos, and then they released this information. They are telling us that ASWAP is coming out. So what exactly are we supposed to do with this?
The security agencies are supposed to be up to their game. Issues of security information is not supposed to go to the public. All they need to do is to, cordon the places, ensure that security personnel are being put at strategic places. Places where you have people like government establishments, some big financial institutions, and other public places, and to ensure that the people are given adequate information to enable them, mind their businesses, know what they are doing today as they go out. But they're coming to tell us that they are under threat. From what the information, if I can analyze it, mean that our hands are tied. We're under threat too. The way these people are coming, if they could attack our president, if they are now claiming that they will invade Aso Rock, please close up public institutions, close the schools, close all these places. They are not telling other private business owners to shut down, but by what they are doing, the body language tells you that shut down. That is what is there. And that goes on to tell us that public security has failed and that individuals need to protect themselves. But how do we do it? Is it with my machete that I'm going to fight? Shouldn't they allow us to carry arms so that individually we can protect us? If I have my own, you have your own, and then we can fight. If somebody comes up before you shoot me, I defend myself. So that is what is boiling down to. We are just gradually going to a failed state, anarchy. We're in a state of anarchy now. From what is happening, it means that Nigeria is under siege by bandits. So how are they getting the information? Why can't they manage this information? Why put fears on us? Because innocent Nigerians were afraid now. There is fear. In fact, some persons can't even step out of their houses because of fear. Somebody was telling me in Lagos, in Abuja, that they don't just enter public vehicles anyhow because the vehicles can be stopped and everybody will be kidnapped. So that is the state of Abuja, a whole federal capital territory, the residence of the president. I mean, it's a question that we'll begin to ask ourselves, how safe are we wherever we are? If they can overrun the president's own home state, Katsina, they're overrunning his main domain, is about the capital city, then what question should we ask ourselves? How are we going to curtail this? Are we to fight for ourselves? Should I think what the Yorubas they did, the Amatekun that they put in place, I think it was something that a foresight, the Eastern Security Network. In the Niger Delta, I don't think if we have any. No, neighborhood watch is for River State. It's not for Niger Delta. Niger Delta has no security plan for now, I think. But perhaps the people who know themselves can assemble and they help us out. So that's the situation in Nigeria now. Self-help.
Now, Dr. Victor, you have made some very salient points. But I want to take you on this as regarding your discipline.
Okay.
Communication, there's an aspect where people talk about strategic communication. Now, these are the security apparatus who have gotten a detailed, quote unquote, information on what terrorists are planning to implement. Now, in your own estimation, we've seen people display different tactics when it comes to handling matters of insecurity, where some terrorist group might even play the role of misdirection.
Sure.
They are using here, then they go the other way. Do you think the Nigerian security agencies are doing enough with the management of security? Because everything they end up doing with each of the fire that they dole out there is to accompany it with fear, and the people don't know what to do next.
Sure.
How do you think they should be able to manage information like this rather, to help the citizens make better informed decisions?
Now, there's what we call situation ethics. I always will talk about situation ethics because it presupposes that for every situation you find yourself, there should be a plan, action with which you can assuage whatever thing on ground. It means that our security agencies should be proactive. They should be able to get security information ahead of time and then plan. Like what you said, they might tell you that they are coming to strike at so point, maybe so market, and then they are going to so area to strike. That is to confuse them. But I think that in the normal point where intelligence gathering, is key, which is military and others, they should be able to do. They can even have in the midst of these people their own persons who will play as being part of these terrorists or whatever, and then be giving them feedback. I shouldn't be the person, of course, I'm not a security expert. I'm only a mass communicator, So they should know, they know how to play their game. If they don't know how to manage security information, it then means that we're already all dead. That's the truth. Because we shouldn't be the persons thinking for them. Sometimes I wonder, do these people think what you are now, the questions you're asking, the answers we are giving, don't they know better than us?
Well, so they should.
That is it. So what are they doing with the information at their disposal?
Well, I wish they can give an answer to that, because when someone says that they are coming to my house to kill me, and you go to the public to tell them that they are coming to announce that, Vivian, these people are coming to your house to kill you. You've practically told them that, oh, Vivian already knows, so they have to re-strategize.
Yes.
And when they re-strategize, are they going to tell you how they are coming against at me? No, they won't. But let's get to Lagos now, Chris.
Thank you, Vivian. All right, so looking at all the insecurities happening in Nigeria, do you think this will have an adverse effect from international bodies thinking of bringing business deals to Nigeria and to establish factories and other business negotiations in Nigeria?
Yeah, of course, no. If you watch recently, so many international organizations and governments have been warning their personnel and citizens, telling them that Nigeria is a no-go area. There are even some hotspots in the country that they dictated and then gave warnings to their people. One of such is the Niger Delta area, which to me, I think they're overblowing this. The Niger Delta area, with what I'm seeing, I'll tell you, is the most peaceful area for now, in quote and unquote, because people are only trying to demarcate the area, especially Port Harcourt. When we move freely on the road, insecurity is almost to a zero level, if you ask me, you know, in Port Harcourt. Now, these persons, if they want to do business, can do business in River State or in some of the Niger Delta State, but because of the way this security information are being hyped, because of some persons who want to demarcate some areas, they make it seem as if the entire country is under fire, when it's not so. And so when you are beginning to give negative information, what do you expect? There will be fear. No country will want to do business with you. Nobody will want to come and establish anything until they are sure that the environment is safe for their investment, without which nobody will be doing business with you. And of course, even the ones that are on ground will be folding. They'll be leaving. If you know the number of companies in recent times that have left the country and left some states where they said, where they issued red alerts, you will know that we are losing so much. You understand? And owing to the problem we have, the economic downturn, we're even having much more worries again, because people who would have ordinarily come to do business with us cannot. I'm sure the international community will be watching, waiting to see the outcome of the 2023 election and whatever happens before anybody can think. I wouldn't even advise anybody at this point, critical point, to come that you want to do any investment. Of course, every investment will wait until after the elections, and then they will know if it is a safe environment to come and invest. But for now, I don't think any serious-minded investor will come into Nigeria to do any business.
Okay, thank you very much. Patience.
Thank you very much. Okay, now with the level of insecurity on the rise, especially in major cities like the Federal Capital Territory, do you think that there might be a call for a lockdown, maybe for a period of time? Do you see a state of emergency being declared in some of the states?
Of course, that won't happen. Declaring a state of emergency in Abuja, you are already telling Mr. President to resign, and which I think he will never do. If the case, if it comes to the worst, what they will do is to declare curfew within a particular time to a particular time, maybe from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. You know, that is the only thing I think they will do. But declaring a state of emergency, that will be shooting himself on his own leg, which he will never do. It can't happen, and I don't see that happening. The only thing that will happen is that they might impose curfew on Abuja and Katsina State and many other states. That is, if they so think that is necessary.
Interesting times we have here in Nigeria. Let's get to Lagos State now, where the governor has approved 4 work-free days for PVC registration. The Lagos State Governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has approved 4 work-free days for civil servants in the state to go get their PVCs. Though for those who are yet to register, collect their permanent voters cards, particularly the Lagos State Governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has approved these days for civil servants in the state who are yet to register to go get registered. There is no excuse. Now, this information is contained in a statement signed by the Lagos State Government Head of Service, Hakeem Muri Okwola. According to the statement, the work-free days would begin began yesterday, July 26th, and to end Friday, July 29th, before expiration of the INEC deadline. Now, this is to ensure compliance. According to counting officers, have been directed to request workers' PVC upon resumption on Monday. Wow. It is the responsibility of every citizen to participate in the electoral process of our country. Therefore, all public servants are encouraged to partake in the upcoming year 2023 general elections. Consequently, it is notified for general information that all public servants who are yet to register for or collect their permanent voters card from designated INEC centers are advised to do so before deadline date of 30th July 2022. To this end, Mr. Governor has graciously approved a work-free day for public servants to enable them to process, collect their permanent voters card from their respective local government and local council development areas. Officers are expected to return back to work with their voters card after their exercise. Accordingly, accounting officers are hereby enjoined to excuse their offices in the respective grade levels on the designated date. Okay, we're having some words of a way forward, a progressive kind of conversation on Blowout this morning. But while I was going through this narration, what came to mind is we have some people who don't vote. It's against their religion.
Really?
Yep. The Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't vote. It's against their religion. At least I know that. I don't know if there are other religious sects who do that. So now, we're here. So if you, because now we're also talking about their rights. It is their right to vote. You cannot deny them access into their workplace because they don't have their PVC. Legally, I do not think that should stand. Now, let's bring it back to those who would say, even if not being Jehovah's Witnesses, that they don't also vote. Now, does the government have the power to stop anyone? We appreciate the governor for doing this, no doubt about it, but does it have the power to stop anyone from accessing their offices if they don't have their PVC? What kind of communication is this now?
Okay. Are you talking about the public offices or the private offices?
Public offices.
Yes, public office. He is the chief executive. He is their paymaster. So he has every right to tell them not to come to work. If I'm the one, he who pays the piper calls the shop. If I decide to tell you, please don't come to office, go do this and that, of course you'll obey me. If you don't want to go and register for PVC, is he moving with them? That's their business. They could do whatever they wish to do with themselves. But then such a right, yes, he does. If you look at it, it's not everything that will be constitutional, because we always look at constitution. But there are, in your house, do you obey constitutional rules in carrying out, taking some decisions? Of course, no. Because you look at it that it's your own domain, it's your privacy. I think to some extent, too, you give some such allowances to public officers.
Wow.
Yes.
Then it literally means there's fire on the mountain there for those who would want to disobey this.
No, it depends on if there will be sanction. Are you getting it? It is not a law. It is just an appeal. But in order to enable the level of sensitization we are getting now concerning PVC, is quite interesting and impressive. Look at where nearly everybody, see, even the small child in the house, go get your PVC. So everybody sees PVC as now being very important. So that tells you about what will be happening in 2023. It means that people are beginning to be more aware of their civic rights and duties. That one of the things they do, that they need to all go out there and cast their vote. I believe and think that the security agencies too will help us to be able to cast our votes. You know what happens? That we will not have talks, we will not have people who will come and shoot, who will come and pursue people from areas they know that will not be favorable to them. These are things we still need to watch. It's not all about go get your PVC and go get that. We've gotten it, we are ready to vote. But the enabling environment for us to vote is key.
All right, it's a very interesting point of view there, Dr. Let me bring you back to something. Vivian made mention of the fact that some religious persons don't vote in some religious bodies. And when we look at the voting pattern, getting the PVC necessarily does not connect them to the polling unit. They might just get it for the sake of banking and other purposes.
Sure.
That's on the one hand. Now, secondly, the whole issue of delivering or giving arrangement of dates for people to go get their PVCs, especially people who work with government parastatals, I think was ignited by Sheyi Makinde.
Okay.
And it seems like every other governor is following suit. Dr. Abiodun has given the same directive in Ogun State, and here we have Lagos State following with 4 days march. This process was even broken down to different civil servants at different levels on different days. Now, this particular trend tells us that something is changing in the consciousness of the people.
Sure.
In your own estimation, apart from looking at party and politics and party lines, what do you really think is happening out there in the mind of the people, especially with the governors being on the front line of this particular movement?
Like if you listen to what I said much earlier, I said the awareness, is getting stronger, and more people are now interested in the electoral processes, and with the involvement of the government and some other individuals, asking people to go get PVCs and so on. It will tell you now that people are much more responsible, and knowing now that if they don't vote, if they don't go out to exercise their voting right, it means their destinies will be lost. They will be handing over their lives to people who, of course, will do what they want to do with it the way they want. Looking at the current situation in the country, no one needs to tell you to go and get your PVC to vote a good government. And from what you're saying, some religious sects who said in their own belief, I don't know if the government they are waiting for is the one that will come from heaven and be instituted for them, so that I think the time of the reign of Christ has not come. Even in the Bible, Christ told his disciples to give unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, and to God that which is God's, meaning that they are in the world, and in the government of the world they need to obey it by going to do their civic rights and not to use religion as a coverage. The problem we're having in the country now, most of it is religious based, because people are using religion to cover their stupidities in most cases, sorry to use that word, and their ineptitude. They hide it under religion, which is not really helping us. And as a country, if we need to move forward, we need to go beyond that religious leanings.
All right, thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you so very much. So, looking at these things that these governors are doing in their different states, don't you think it would have been appropriate and more exemplifying for the president to give 2 to 3 days work-free day to the states, to Nigeria, for everyone to be involved in the PVC registration for those that haven't?
Okay, I think the states are equally integral part of the country. If the governors have already told people in their various states to go do the same, it is not the duty of the president to come and mobilize people. We have parastatals, we have agencies of government. You know, the ministers and so on can tell ministries under them to go and observe this. Know also that when you are telling people to shut down to go for PVCs, it's economic flight, money, businesses. You are shutting down government businesses and everything. The monies that would have come into government is wasting. And you guys, they are losing revenue. So you should put that in mind too. So you don't expect that they should shut down the country because they want people to go and register to get their PVC. No, it goes beyond that.
All right, Patience.
Despite the work-free day given by government for people to go get their PVC, you still find out that some Nigerians won't get their PVC as a result of voter apathy. What could you say about such category of persons?
Well, it's simple psychology. I think there is this saying that you can take a horse to the stream, but you can't force the horse to drink. Some persons believe, like we rightly said here, that there are some religious sects that believe that their people need not exercise their civic rights by going to get PVCs and votes. So if we want to go by that, you see that no matter how the government will pull people, there are still people who have their own beliefs, you know, and all that, who would still go against the order. And so you wouldn't push them, because on the day of voting, of course, it's not everybody. You wouldn't know who and who voted. They might brandish their PVC, but they might not even get close to the polling station. So that is it. But let's believe that the number of people that have turned out for the exercise are much more than the ones who are reneging. So if that be the case, I think there's a success.
All right, we are still blowing out on ATN this morning. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we're going to Kano State, where the commissioner is saying his biggest problem is the releasing of criminals, which has become a challenge for him in Kano State. We'll be right back. Meet the people making the difference in our time on ATN Icons. Here, we present you legends celebrated for their heroism in different fields and serve as role models today. ATN Icons, showing every Sunday 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes DTH channel 194, ATN Live on Google App Store, Facebook Atlantic Television Network, YouTube Atlantic Television Network, Instagram Atlantic TV Network, Twitter Atlantic TV Net. For sponsorship 0810-634-1777. ATN Icons, celebrating the giants of our time.
The people, the candidates, the party, the campaigns. What really makes an election year? Enough of the rhetorics. It's time for issue-based politics. 2023 elections. Who are the candidates? What do you know about them? Take a seat, relax, and join us for the 2023 elections on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes, DTH, Channel 194, or ATN Live on Google Play Store and all our social media platforms. Twitter is at Atlantic TV Net. Facebook and YouTube is at Atlantic Television Network. On Instagram is at Atlantic TV Network. Elections 2023 from Mondays to Fridays at 8 p.m. Election 2023. We the people have a stake.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honourable
You human trafficker.
Honourable
You are a human
They are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
people doing justice to the issues at hand. But right now, let's move over to issues concerning security. Releasing criminals, my biggest challenge in Kano. Now, the outgoing Kano State Commissioner of Police, Smaila Shuaibu Diko, has said that his biggest challenge while serving in the state was how criminals were arbitrarily granted bail after they were arrested and charged to court by the command. The commissioner stated this in Kano on Monday during a ceremony to mark his retirement in the command's headquarters, Bompai. The CP will retire from the service on Wednesday, 27 July 2022 after reaching 60 years of age. He was posted to Kano on February 19, 2021 and served for a period of 17 months as the 42nd Commissioner of Police in the state. Newsmen gathered that there had been a series of complaints in the state after the governor, Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, granted pardon to some inmates, out of which some were accused to be terrorizing residents of the state. However, in his farewell address, the commissioner said it is worrying that a criminal will be released to go free after committing a crime, calling on the state government and the judicial system to do the needful in addressing the challenge. While bidding farewell to the officers of the command, Diko urged them to be law-abiding and always adhere to the ethics of the job wherever they found themselves, praying for them to end their services to the country in peace and happiness. Now, these are some of the issues that are staring us in the face. Let me quickly come to you, Dr. Ibeturu Pepo. What do you make of these developments? Do you see, I don't know, but what do you make of this development?
It's a compromise, and it's a compromise we've been talking about. When you know that these persons are criminals, you know, these persons are hoodlums, these people, call it whatever name, and they are being apprehended rather than to allow the long arms of the law to catch up with them. All you do is to just bring them and you recompromise because they are Oga boys. Somebody's boy, you just release them and bring them back again to society. And these persons would have this mindset that whenever I'm arrested, I will still be released. And so they will keep unleashing mayhem on innocent citizens. I think if these persons are being caught, let's do what used to be in those days, though it is, they will say it's jungle justice. When you catch somebody that is confirmed to be a criminal, notable one, shoot aside sometimes. Because we're not sorry if I have to say that, because we are in a very critical moment in this period of our country. Why would you arrest people, put them in prison or cells, whatever, and you go back and release them? So why arrest them at the first instance? Why not allow them to continue since you love what they are doing? There is no form of reprimand. There is no form of correction. Today we have correctional center. It's no longer prison. So why won't you take them to that correctional center, allow them and reorient them, give them a reorientation so that when they come out, they will be useful to society to be able to quit whatever evil that they have been committing against citizens and the state. Rather, you just take them in for just don't worry, just relax. After now, we'll release you, and they come back again to unleash mayhem. Of course, we'll see more of this because it's already the political era when they need more of these guys to do their dirty biddings.
Now, we have, even on the show this morning and on different occasions, we've raised the issue of community policing as looking like the way forward out of the security quagmire we find ourselves as a nation. However, if you take this to what has happened in Zamfara of late, where a known terrorist, unrepentant one as a matter of fact, who from a BBC Africa Eye documentary Waiting to Watch said that he doesn't like Hausas and people of other religion, and that's why he goes after them. That's a Alero. Now, that's a particular case in question. Bring it back to Kano State, where the outgoing commissioner of police is saying one of the biggest challenge he had, which is also painting the same picture of the executive governor using his position against the people whom he's meant to be protecting. Do you think community policing is what we should be looking at, having this class of individuals who don't know or who don't have a hand on what should be when it comes to protecting lives and properties?
Sure. You know, I'm one of the advocates of community policing. Now, even the Nigerian police, their priorities are misplaced. One of the things that we need to, especially Nigerian policemen, are supposed to be posted to their home states where they know people one-on-one. For instance, if you're a policeman from Rivers State, maybe you're from Calabar Extraction, they post you to your village. So that you go there, you'll be able to, you know the people one-on-one. You can help either negotiate for peace, you can help apprehend people there, because it's a one-on-one thing. Now, you know, when they bring people from other states to a particular place, all they come is not the peace of the state or whatever that is uppermost in their hearts. What they come there is for gratification. You see what is happening on our roads. If you're traveling from Port Harcourt here to Akwa Ibom, we'll have more than 20 checkpoints on that Bori Road. But at the end of the day, you see here that they were robbing. Because the people there are interested in what they get and not what they give to the people. So I believe that community policing will solve some of these problems, because you know them and they cannot come and put their own communities or people at risk. They will do something. And then it will be a form of intelligence gathering where they have others who will be able to know things around, and then they will bring it back to maybe the federal police if need be to act. So community policing is something that we need at this critical moment of the decay in this country.
All right, let's get to hear from you, Christopher.
Policy and all of that. Now, the challenge that I'm suspecting I may likely have is now it's now a question to the guests. Now, if you're suggesting we have a community policy and all of that, what about when tribalism, when sympathy, empathy comes into play? When your brother, let's say a cousin, is a major criminal in the state, and then he falls victim of arrest and all of that, and then you, as in charge of the security personnel, you're like, okay, corruption comes in and you want to play your way around it for your brother, your cousin to be released because your parents have cried to you that he shouldn't go to jail. That aside, now the second question, too, is the same thing that the minister, the chief is also going through right now. When the Oga at the top, they're asking him to release people that are actually criminals. Same corruption could happen in the state too, when the governor of the state can also call upon the community people to release a certain member. How do we go about all of these challenges?
You know, one of the things that we cannot run away from are challenges, but then how to surmount them is the most important thing. Now, let us not begin to look at the problems that will surround this, and it will make us not to realize the dream of having a community police in place. Now, whether you like it or not, I'm saying that they should send some persons. If it is within Rivers, for instance, if they send the Bonny man to Calabar, send the Calabar man to Bonny, of course he will do his bidding. He knows that he's a Rivers man, and then what is there is for the common good of Rivers State. There are some key little officers, the smaller officers, the rank and files that they can put for intelligence gathering, where they can gather intelligence and then they can be able to make use of it. I'm not saying that it must be you to your own particular local government area. No, but it should be people from within the states. You can post them, you know, from one state, just the way they do in local government service commission. They can take somebody. The fact that you're from a particular area doesn't mean you work there. Maybe if you work there for some time, they post you out to another place and bring other people. That's the way you create that synergy. So I think that our fears shouldn't stop us from, advocating for community policing. Whether you like it or not, there are still some individuals who will compromise. But the level of compromise is what we should look at and see how to nip it on the bud. You know, let's first get things right. Whatever, every other thing will fall in place. It's simple conscientization. Let's conscientize ourselves. Let there be training whereby they know if you get such a person, the person is punished. Let us make it such that even though the governor is the chief executive officer and in charge of the command, there should be a legislation that will make him not to have the complete say. In the proper way, if you want the community policing to succeed, let the citizens choose whoever is the head, the commissioner or whatever, and things will work. It is when you leave it to the governor or his cronies that you have problem. But if it is the people that will vote and vote it, just the way they vote for sheriffs abroad, do such a thing, you see that we'll have results.
All right, questions? The conversation is over to you.
Thank you very much. Now, the question is, don't you think as a result of too much compromise from government, we are having more terrorists in the country to the extent whereby the president is also receiving threatening issues from these terrorists? Don't you think government have been compromising too much?
I think you've already answered the question you're posing to me. That don't I think that government is compromising so much? Of course, the compromise is from government. Government controls all the security apparatuses, everything we have in the state. Government is in charge of everything. Government is in charge of intelligence gathering mechanism. Government is in charge of whatever you name. So whatever failure we're having now is as a result of failure in governance. So everything boils down to the government. Everything goes back to them because they have all it takes to be able to curb this. Don't tell me that they don't have intelligence on these terrorists or bandits or whatever you call them. Of course they do. But then the truth of the matter is that what to say, do they have the political will to do the needful? That is just the case.
If I interest you to know, Dr. Victory, that the next issue we're moving to now also talks about intelligence because the deputy speaker has decided to back his plan to ban motorcycles, citing intelligence reports. The deputy speaker of the House of Representatives, Idris Wase, noted that even though motorcycles are a major means of transportation for most Nigerians, there is still a need for Nigerians to support the policy of banning them. The deputy speaker of the House of Representatives, Idris Wase, on Tuesday stopped a motion calling for the suspension of the planned ban on motorcycle in the country. Abubakar Yalema, ABC Jigawa, during plenary moved a motion calling for the suspension of the planned nationwide ban. In his motion, Mr. Yalman had prayed that the House should urge the federal government to halt the proposed nationwide ban on the use of motorcycle and ensure that adequate palliative measures are put in place before such decisions are implemented. He also prayed for the House to urge the federal government to restrict the proposed ban to local government areas where the mining activities or banditry and terrorist activities take place. After Mr. Yalman spoke, the deputy speaker who presided over Tuesday's session called him to the chair for a private meeting. Following the meeting, Mr. Wase said there was a need to withdraw the motion. Now, this is a very interesting development, and I want to hear your perspective on it. The government is planning on banning the motorcycles nationwide, but let's get to see a video or two on that.
And our appeal to government is that as they implement this policy, or if they are going to implement at all, is to look at those areas that are not vulnerable and do not have the potency of having any such resurgence in their community to allow them have. Because most of us, 90% of my community, even though 99%, this is the only means of communication. So we appreciate his motion, the sensibility, but in line with our principle to help in curbing the insecurity in our country, we have to cooperate with government. You cannot imagine what is happening today in Abuja. I will be frank with you. I went through DSS report. 44 reports were given before the attack of PG. I want to say so. I want to confirm to you, 44. I read through all the reports. And it all has to do with this. There is no community that one attack or the other that will happen that you will not have an intel. And this is part of the intel that they have given as to what is going to happen.
Whenever our government, they want to do anything, there's this hasty decision making. Before you take any decision, think of the ripple effects, think of the economic effect on the people. You know now that if they just ban Okada, you will increase banditry. More people will join out of hunger. There's hunger in the land already. You see that armed robbery will start, petty thieves, and so on around. Because these Okada you're banning are a source of livelihood to people. Some persons are using to train their children, they're using to feed their family. What palliative measure are you putting in place? What are you trying to bring into assuage? You know, shouldn't the plan just be a period of 6 months or 1 year whereby you begin to phase them out gradually so that the persons that have been used to these businesses can look for other source of livelihood? And what about the effect on the people, on the public? Don't you think that the government should have been able to either import some buses that will be ferrying people from one part of the state to the other or the city to the other? Would you just ban it when you've not had any measure, palliative measure, when there are no plans to ensure that these persons are ferried around town? So it was a hasty decision, and I don't think that it should hold sway. What they are doing is that I agree with what the other parliamentarians said, that for now they should step it down. Let it be stepped down and let a proper plan be made. Of course, Nigeria is a place where committees are easily set up. Let them set up a committee that will look into it and plan a better way of transiting from the keke to any other means of transportation. Remember that President Obasanjo during his time brought keke napep as a way of helping to solve the transport situation we have in Nigeria. That's why they brought those things from India. It's an Indian, we only see it in their movies in those days, but now the reality of keke is with us. And then people have keyed into it. It's a source of livelihood, a business, and every other. So let us not be too hasty to just stop it.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Ibitu. It may interest you to know that we're still sitting in the green chambers, but this time around looking at issues concerning the water resource bill. The reps are denying impeachment threats to Badabiamila. And now members of the House of Representatives have dismissed the alleged plot to impeach the Speaker, Femi Badabiamila, over consideration and passage of the controversial National Water Resource Bill. Leader of the Northern Caucus, Musa Sakin Ada, raised a point of order at the plenary on Tuesday to dismiss a report that Badabiamila was being threatened with impeachment over the bill. The minority leader, Ndudi Elumelu, stated that the House would remain united while also dismissing the impeachment threat. The Deputy Speaker, Ahmed Wase, who presided over the session, referred the matter to the House Committee on Ethics and Privileges to investigate the allegation. Let's get to see how it played down in this representative and the House, rather.
My point of order is with regard to the publication by one of the social media online papers, the Sahara Reporters, which insinuated that northern members are plotting to impeach the Speaker of this House. And I feel, as the leader of the Northern Caucus of this great House, it is important that we bring it up here so that everybody here should be aware, and the public also to know. This is a figment of the imagination. It has never happened anywhere. And it is an attempt to divide this country along ethnic, religious, and tribal lines, which I think we should grow over that by now. In their publication of last week, they instructed the northern members plot to impeach the Speaker over the water bill. And they said the members have met in secret and have resolved that if the Speaker does allow that bill to pass or to be taken, they will move against it to impeach. Let me make it very categorical here. Members of the Northern Caucus, one, we are patriotic, we are united, we don't have any discrimination. In the North, we are not monolithic. We have various shapes of people within us. We have Christians and Muslims, and we have people from various tribes across the entire northern region. So I wonder how a bill of a nature of a water bill will come, and we decided on the basis of region, tribe, or religion. And water, I don't know the correlation between water and religion, or water and ethnicity, or water and region. And this bill has been with us. Many people have contributed their input in it. And what will link it to the impeachment of a speaker? How could a speaker, by our rules, the speaker have no power to disallow any bill to be taken if it is listed?
Dr. Ibuturu, you've seen how the development is playing out in the Green Chambers, and some people might just be saying, oh, is it that there is some facts tied to this thing, looking at the
cannot come out and say something if it was not a decision they have taken at the Northern Caucus. So he's now coming to play it out, and who is the person that sponsored the bill? That's the question we'll ask. Is it somebody from the Niger Delta that sponsored the bill? Would somebody from the Niger Delta sponsor a bill that the waters of the Niger Delta should be taken over? Of course it's not. It's somebody from an where I would say it's from an advantage area, from an advantage position. Of course, in quote, the owners of Nigeria. If not, you would not come up seeing that, because the Niger Delta is a minority area. Somebody states, no, we have taken the oil, it is now part of the federal government own. The Land Use Act is there. Now they are bringing water bill. Of course, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
All right, Patience.
Thank you very much. Now, do you think the issue of water resource bill, do you see it's bringing out some regional crisis, as now the speaker is talking about this is a threat to the impeachment of Bajabi Amila? Do you see it's bringing out some regional crisis?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's going to bring, of course, Niger Deltans will react. There will be agitation. People will begin to react. Of course, you know the various groups who have in the Niger Delta, they will begin to now start their own side. Remember the last time they had to wage war on the pipelines and so on. And then the federal government, to assuage them, had to pay some of them to begin to protect the pipeline, which are the critical infrastructures we have in the country. Now, if they come up with this, of course, nobody will fold their arms to look at them, collect even the little source of livelihood that you have left from all that they've taken. Look at where I come from. I come from Boni, a place that houses the Nigerian liquefied natural gas, where the export is not even being accounted for, in quote. They talk about oil every day. I've not heard where they said the gas export has amounted to XYZ amount. And then you are coming back now to tell us that that place I catch some little fish when I go to the village, that I will have to take permission from Abuja before I go to the waters. Is ridiculous. I think it will spark up so much protest anytime from now.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Bituru Pebo, for being part of ATM Blowout. It's been an interesting section blowing out with you this morning.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. It's an honor to have you, and we can't wait to have you back here.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a short break. When we return, we do our outro with the anchors and we get to give you a final take on the show. Don't go, we'll be right back.
Meet the people making the difference in our time on ATN Icons. Here, we present you legends celebrated for their heroism in different fields and serve as role models today. ATN Icons, showing every Sunday 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes DTH channel 194, ATN Live on Google App Store, Facebook Atlantic Television Network, YouTube Atlantic Television Network, Instagram Atlantic TV Network, Twitter Atlantic TV Net. For sponsorship 0810-634-1777. ATN Icons, celebrating the giants of our time.
ATN blowout. It's been an interesting blowout.
That the president was going to Liberia to get to do a seminar on what against security. Sounds laughable. I think that's kind of struck my attention. I was like, why? What happens to coming to Nigeria to do proper security or not? Thank you.
All right. What happens to coming to Nigeria? I think that's a question. He's back to Nigeria, though. That's a question maybe he needs to begin to think of answering, as a matter of fact. Thank you very much, Chris. Patience.
Okay, my take is on the holiday given by some state government for workers to go get their PVC. I'll say that's a good one coming from the government of the state.
Thank you very much, Patience. Our Adejumo, Adekboju, Adekule.